Hello, you wonderful people. Speedy here. Just a note to make before we start with the actual episode proper. During the recording of this episode, Pory recorded everything with his webcam microphone because the quality of his audio is subpar, let's say. We've tried our best to do as much as possible to it to enhance it and make the quality tolerable to listen to, but if you notice that he sounds a little different, that's why. Our apologies for the inconvenience, and I hope you are not deterred from listening to this episode. It's a really good one. You'll be missing out if you skip it. Anyway, let's dive into the actual episode. Have fun. So, this is episode 4. We've all introduced the podcast once, so I think it loops back around to Sheila again. To
all right,
do the honors.
Oh my god, I am so not prepared. I'm doing the intro today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Salty Triangle.
You remember today.
Just quick introductions in case of a case. Yeah, we actually remember the name. I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore, is it? No. Okay. So, I'm Speedy. I am Speedy, yes.
Are you okay?
Hi, Speedy.
Are you okay? I'm Sheila, by the way.
I'll be Sheila. Yeah. No, I'll be Sheila. Alright, continue.
As I was saying, I'm Speedy, Pory is Sheila, and Speedy is Pory. No. Okay, for real now. I am Sheila, and with me I have, as always, Speedy and Pory. Hi, guys.
Hello. We are here again.
Yes, we are here again. And our topic today is going to be one that many of you are familiar with, and those who aren't familiar with should really go get familiar with it because you're not elitists. It's going to be Shonen.
Well, I mean, Shonen, and I think we wanted to highlight Ichigo a little bit, but we'll see when we get to that.
As a shonen protagonist, kind of, since he's a bit outside of the norm, but yeah.
Yes, we want to find out why. But before that, and before we even go to discussing what we've watched today, I think you wanted to bring up something that we've discussed 2 episodes ago, in episode 2. So you two went at each other's throats over this thing, art objectivity or subjectivity, and I've heard that there is no longer a conflict. You two agree now.
Yeah, we actually agreed the whole time.
Mostly. There are a few small things here or there, but mostly, yeah.
So, care to explain? Care to tell everyone who got it right?
Yeah, so basically what happened is that because, we were in the entire episode, Pory and I were talking past each other the entire time because we never even bothered to, compare what we think objective judging is. And my definition of it is, judging outside of your own personal taste, whatever that may be. It can, the rules that, or standards or guidelines that you create can be completely arbitrary, but when you judge objectively, it just means you put your own personal taste aside to judge by whatever standard it is you want to judge by.
Right. And on that note, you do agree now. It's mostly it was mostly confusion because
it was but Pory,
the problem was that
I'll let you explain your version of objectivity.
So because when people are talking about objectivity, I've always just assumed that they meant that they were appealing to some higher, rating scale that is beyond. Yeah, it's beyond our comprehension, and we just have to trust what it tells us to think or whatever.
To an absolute, basically. Hence why he kept bringing up, math and physics.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like Sheila doesn't think people actually believe that, but I think people I'm pretty confident people do think that.
So that's why we wanted to bring it up.
Yeah. Because the 2 things that people say that make me think this is, one, they'll be angry that people will like a show that they think is bad, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you call them stupid for liking SAO, right? If I find someone calls you stupid, it means that you're just getting something wrong that you shouldn't be able to get wrong, right? You're saying like the sky is orange. No, you're stupid. It's not orange.
Bad example.
I mean, depending on bad example. Depending on
That's
how
true.
on
Yeah,
your
that's true.
own like a different. I give every bet there's a species out there that sees the sky as being
Yeah,
orange.
yeah, probably, but you get my point.
I get your point.
You're just saying something that is like inarguable. Like you're arguing something that is inarguable.
Like 1 + 1 = 2.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but then I'll call you stupid if you said 1 + 1 is 3, right? And then the other one that people say, and I said this in the episode, was that people will say like, I like this show, but I know that it's bad. Like to me, that is like the perfect example, because their opinion is like beneath this absolute that they're appealing to the whole time, and so what they actually think doesn't matter at all is whatever the absolute is. So yeah, I feel like people do think this. Like, I don't think I'm just like misinterpreting.
The entire reason why we're bringing this up is because we wanted to know, actually, now we're arguing about, Pory and I always argue, but like the topic we're arguing about right now is, what do people actually believe? Do they believe that, objective judging is adhering to an absolute truth, or is it, just putting your own personal taste aside to judge by, whatever standard you want to judge by? And I, at least, am honestly curious, which one is it? What do people in general believe? What do the vast majority believe? So, for the first time ever, not at the very end, we ask you to leave comments and tell us.
I was about to do that.
Or how Jeff Stewart would say, go down to the doobly-doo.
The doobly-doo. Who does that again? Who's the one?
Jeff, Mother's Basement.
Oh, right.
Doobly-doo means description, but...
Yeah. Well, whatever. Go down to the comments section and tell us, when you think of, judging objectively, which one of the two philosophies do you follow? Or maybe even do you have your very own philosophy? In that case, share it with us, because I, at least, am honestly curious to see what the results are going to be.
We might even bring it up in the future. I mean,
Maybe.
I do like to do follow-ups on previous episodes. Speaking of, by the way, our first episode has released...
Yeah. How long ago did we actually record that? I think it was like the beginning of the fall season, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a while back, because we discussed the start of the fall season. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
But on the critical acclaim of a few viewers, and then we had to re-upload the thing again. Oh boy.
Yeah, because I did a few it was mostly on my end. I did a few mistakes, but to be fair, since it was the first episode, I had so much visual work to be done that by the time that I finally got around to the visual editing, I was a little burned out on it. And so I missed a few important, very, very important details. And I had to fix those since we had to re-upload that. But that should not be happening anymore.
Yeah, it's first time doing all of this, so I guess we were all kind of figuring out how to do a podcast, how to talk, how to edit the whole thing, how to make it all work.
Could you imagine the entire thing working without me being the only one having any actual knowledge in production?
True, but you'd
think would never have even picked
you'd
up.
think that person would not forget to make a thumbnail.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm sorry. It wasn't on purpose.
I had to bring that up. I had
She
to be a little condescending.
She forgot, and so gotcha is on the thumbnail, so it's pretty good. I think it all worked out.
It's a good trade-off.
It all worked out.
Yeah. On to anime. Pory, how's the season? It's nearly ending, isn't it?
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah,
When was the last time you actually enjoyed a season?
January, probably. Because Exorcist was in it. Exorcist was in it, and Twilight Wings was in it. Oh my fucking God. How...
shit, I forgot to watch it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, that was 50 years ago.
In January, but yeah, give or take 50 days, yeah.
Yeah, well, how many episodes do the shows now have this season? Like 11, 12? What is it?
Yeah, they're all finished or have an episode left.
Okay, so how many shows have survived then, Pory? How many have been worth watching through in its entirety? About.
Do you want me to finish? Do you want me to say how many shows I will finish, or how many shows I would recommend finishing?
No, how many you have finished. Not
Okay,
not a recommendation.
I think like maybe 10. I think 3 of them I finished already, and there's like 6 or 7 left to watch. I think.
Right.
So yeah, about 10. But would I recommend watching any of them? Probably not. Maybe Jujutsu Kaisen. Maybe.
Jujutsu Kaisen, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe the 3rd season of Gon Kamui, but you're probably watching that if you like Gon Kamui. So.
True.
Yeah.
Same with Haikyuu, I bet.
What about the other show, the one with the alien girl and the two lesbians?
Oh yeah.
Adachi Totojima Shimamura.
Yeah.
Did you drop it, and was it her fault?
No, I haven't finished yet. No, it's got an episode left. I haven't finished. It's not. I didn't drop it. But I'm watching it on 2 times speed because it needs to fucking go.
No. Why? What is up with people watching things on 2 times speed?
Because I would feel bad if I just dropped, like, I could drop everything else except from Jujutsu Kaisen and I'd probably feel better about it. But I don't want to have, 50 shows dropped. And so I can just, I tweeted about how it feels like ripping off a plaster.
There's no sense to your logic, or no logic to your sense, whichever way you want to take it.
Wait, what do you mean?
It means that nothing about the way you watch anime makes any sense whatsoever. If you don't want to watch it, just don't fucking watch it. Why do you feel bad about dropping shows?
Because dropped is red on your Miami list, and that's that's a bad thing. And if it's a big number, it makes me sad.
Fucking who?
It makes me sad.
Color theory.
Boo fucking who?
It makes me upset if it's a
color
big number.
theory.
Yeah, I'm a victim of color theory. Yeah.
It's like theory. You should start studying art.
Why is it being victim of color theory a good thing?
No, it's like you get a little bit more resistant to it because you know what it's doing.
I see. I mean, I know, but I'm just giving in.
I think on my anime planet list of shows I've watched and dropped, I think they are about the same amount. I've watched as much as I've dropped, which is still a lot of things I've watched.
You guys suck. I don't even start watching anime that aren't like, oh, this looks interesting. I don't even start them to begin with.
To be fair, most of the dropped shows were me watching 1 or 2 episodes of a thing 10 years ago or 8 years ago, never finishing them, and then coming to the list about 2 years ago and thinking, oh my god, I have so much on watching. I need to figure out whether I want to actually finish this or not. So I'm blaming young Speedy. This is not my problem anymore. I am not that person anymore.
Yeah, I'm glad I never did that, where you just start 80,000 shows and then never finish any of them.
Yeah, I deliberately sometimes went through Anime Planet, through the recommendations, and just picked out 20 shows, and I just watched 1 episode of all of them, just because I was curious. And then I'd probably not finish any of them. Until maybe 5 years later when I was like, oh, wait, I know that show. I think I mostly did it so that I knew what the show was and had an inkling of an idea what it was, instead of having an actual interest in what the show was going to be about.
I like my version of just going through the top recommended better.
Yeah, it's probably the safest way to do it, but
yeah, probably the way to get the best anime. Truly.
I mean, I don't have time to waste on bad anime, okay? I have a very busy social life, as Speedy can attest to. I am in animation school, which anybody who has ever been in any art school whatsoever knows how much fucking work that is. I have a very busy home life with 5 roommates that I absolutely love and adore. Speedy can also attest to. I don't have time to waste, on shit that is I don't know if this is going to be good or not. So if I'm going to watch something, it's something where the chances of it being good are much higher than the chances of it sucking.
I will say though, watching bad stuff and then watching good stuff, it makes the good stuff so much better.
Yep.
You don't get the relief of watching a good thing after watching an infinite amount of bad shows.
Is this the anime version of you need to go through a bad thing to be able to appreciate the good thing? I think there's a.
Probably I have been an anime fan much, much, much longer than you, I have watched my fair share of bad things.
Well, I mean, you don't. I think you don't. I think it doesn't stick in your brain just how like painful it is. Like you try and remove that negative emotion because I think if you just hold on to it, it would probably like ruin your mental. So
Maybe.
like I think watching a bad thing and then watching a good thing is so satisfying.
But either way, do not forget that whether it's good or bad, I look at anime differently from the two of you. I watch it differently. I think about it differently.
Yeah, true.
As Speedy can attest to.
Yes. We have many disagreements on many things. But
Oh no, I was talking about that one time we all went to Hedgen's place and we watched Frozen together, and you were so fascinated about, how we broke down the movie. That's what I was talking about.
It was fun. I was sitting in a room full of animation students, looking at an animation movie, and the reaction to some of the scenes were pretty fun to watch. I did also fall asleep halfway through the movie, so.
Well, Frozen 2 isn't exactly the best of movies out there. Let's put it that way.
you were mostly very interested in the animation side of the thing, and not so impressed by the rest of the movie. I remember.
Okay, but to be fair, the horse, the simulation on that horse is gorgeous. It's simulation is so fucking hard, especially if you try it on Houdini, and the clothes too. I mean, but Marvelous is pretty makes things pretty easy these days, but we're struggling with these things, and wasting hours and weeks and months trying to get the hang of that, and then we see that in the movie being done to a grade of perfection that we could never even dream of. Why would we not marvel over it? Oh my god, that horse was gorgeous. The takeaway from this entire conversation is watch Frozen 2 just for the water horse because it's gorgeous.
Just for the water horse.
I love that water horse so much. It was the only saving grace about that movie.
I don't even
also,
remember the water horse.
How could you not remember the water horse?
You might have been asleep by then.
That would be fair, actually. The movie was kind of a slog up until that point.
But did you watch anything else, Pory? Is there anything you have to add to your watching escapades?
Okay, I want to talk about what's the Jewish show called? Talentless Nana.
Oh, yeah, Talentless Nana. We were saying we wanted to get back to this.
It's tough. It's really tough. I can't the reason I'm watching it, the show isn't very good. I'm just watching it to try and figure out if it's propaganda or not. And in the last episode, she has a realization that killing these children is not good. Right?
A little late.
11 of the 12 episodes. So I was like,
probably
okay.
to make segue for season 2.
Yeah, I mean that's if there's a season 2 though. The problem I had was let's say I talk about why the Jews are the worst thing ever for 20 minutes, and then at the end I go, actually, JK, that's not, just because I said JK doesn't mean anything, right? So it's I don't know if I am convinced that, saying being propaganda and then saying you're not at the end doesn't mean it's not propaganda, right?
True. Or misguided, either way.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, but then the way that we meet some of the government people, and they have they have basically like some kind of Imperial Army-esque outfit with some Nazi-esque logo.
They're throwing it on very thickly then.
Yeah. It's like a triangle with an eagle in it, very similar to the Nazi.
Okay.
But that was the exact reason why I asked you last time if forget about what they say. Look at the visual information given, and judge by that whether or not the kids are bad.
So,
I was kind of thinking something was going to go in that direction.
With the scene where they introduce the army people, I'm like, okay, these guys are villains. But if you're into the army outfits and stuff, that would be a good thing, right? It wouldn't be a bad thing that they're dressed that way. And so I'm not sure.
What is her reaction to these people?
Well, they're just in a boardroom saying how good Nana's doing at killing all the kids.
Right. What is her reaction?
I mean, I don't understand. Nana's not there.
Oh, Nana's not there. She hasn't met them yet. Okay.
Oh no, she knows that. No, oh, and I guess Nana apparently has like a, like kind of a stormtrooper-esque. You know, she was raised by the army and then into a killing machine or whatever. So that sounds like a negative thing, but I could easily imagine the writer being into that. So
Is this like an Ubermensch ideology?
I don't
where
understand
she's
what that
like
means.
You do not know what that means.
No.
An Ubermensch is basically like the ideal version of a human that Nazi Germany had, or
Oh no,
rather
she
the
wasn't
Nazis,
like no, it wasn't like a eugenic thing. She was like taken in by the military. Yeah. So I think it's not, but it's like it just seems bizarre to me that you would have all this like pseudo anti-Semitic messaging for the whole show and then just like change it right at the end. It seems so against the whole point.
I mean, shows have done this before. Just going a whole show long, just preaching one thing and then turning it around and saying, okay, yeah, no, we realize this is bad, or the characters realize this is bad. But I think
and also like. Yeah. As I kept saying, is a good director knows to, like if one creates a dichotomy between auditory information and visual information, then the visual information is what's going to stick to us more. So, even if they, kept saying the entire time that, Nana is on the good side and, killing the kids is the right thing, if what they actually show in this case in the visual information, aka, making, like you said, making these kids, just basically kids, whether or not they're a bit on the stupid side, then just like that it is very possible that, the entire goal from the get-go was to, get that same reaction out of people that you are, where you're like, wait, what's going on here? This doesn't seem quite right.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like you would not want to do that. Like, because it doesn't make me like the show more. That, well, I guess I like it slightly more, but like not that much more. I would prefer it if on like episode 3, where they had the perfect opportunity to spin it around, that they did it immediately. I would have preferred that so much more. But maybe it'd be less potent if they did it that way. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, I haven't watched the show, so I'm just, spitballing here.
Are there any other anime or shows or movies where they go the entire movie preaching one thing and then turn it around at the end? Or is there something we can compare this with?
Well, Death Note for a long, long time, until they introduced L, was, basically at the very beginning they had us on board with Kira, and we just followed him as, he went from wanting to honestly do justice to, becoming a crazed killer with a god complex. But I remember when the show first started, I was already in the community when the show first started. For the first few episodes, people were absolutely on board with Kira's philosophy.
Yeah, there's I can't remember the name of the study, but basically there's a study where it's normally used to like show like how like racism starts and stuff and how to like solve it. Basically, if your main character has any trait, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, people will be more positive towards the trait. And so normally you would use it to show that, like, okay, if we make this character, a minority, people will like the minority more. But I think it would apply in the same way where you could say, all right, we'll make this character like do really bad shit, and then people will be into it because it's the main character doing it. I think what's the show called? A Happy Sugar Life. I think that's a good example.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Because like the main character
Heard
there.
of it.
Yeah, it's like kind of this like I fucking hate that show so much because I feel like it is actually trying to. I honestly feel like I'm being like manipulated because it's like a cute girl, and so you go cute girl, that's good. That's a but she's like a.
You would.
She's like a serial killer and like a she's like a kidnapper and stuff, and so I'm like you can't. So it feels bad for me to have like a positive trait, and then I need to like correlate that positive trait with a negative trait. It feels like I'm being like emotionally manipulated. It really fucking bothers me. So yeah.
That's just because you're a simp for cute girls. Like for me, for example, that would never work.
What do you mean? Oh.
Because cute girls in anime to me are not cute.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But...
It's not cute girls doing cute things. It's cute girls doing bad things.
Yeah, cute girls committing like mass crime.
So what about like Higurashi then?
Oh, to be honest, I loved Higurashi just because they're also psychotic, and because I like gore and violence.
I have no opinion. Well, yeah, I mean, does it make it like? Is it like this cute character is doing bad thing, so bad thing is actually not bad thing? Is that?
No, it's like
okay.
It's much more layered than that, because you have absolutely no idea what these girls' deal is, and for a lot of the stories, you don't actually know if the girls did anything or if it's just if there's how do I put this big spoilers for Higurashi no Nakokoro ni.
Oh, I'm not sure if I want that because I'm still very interested in watching it.
Oh, okay. So, in that case, the only thing I'm going to do is that you don't know which person is doing what, or if any person is actually doing anything, and it's just the people around them going crazy for the longest time.
Okay.
So it's very ambiguous.
I've heard it for.
I love Higurashi. It's great. It's great. It's really great.
It's got time loops and stuff like that.
To all of the people out there, stay away from the dub. The dub is like god awful.
I've heard that.
Please do not watch the
I've heard
dub.
about that.
Yeah. I will be the first person to, defend a dub if it's good and say, stop being such an elitist weeb, and watch the fucking dub because it's fucking good and it really needs your it really deserves your attention and appreciation. But Higurashi is not one of those dubs.
So what about you,
Stay away
Sheila?
from the dub.
What have you been watching?
I've watched fuck all.
Nice.
I haven't watched shit.
And
I've watched 2 episodes of Mushishi and that's it.
Oh, you said you didn't like it?
What? No. I watch Mushishi very slowly because I have to be in the mood for it, and even then, it's very rare that I can watch more than one episode in one go.
Yeah, I refuse to watch anything more than one episode in a go.
Yeah, but I think we have established that I'm like the binger of bingers. No, I haven't watched anything.
I think I have the same thing with Lucky Star. I can't binge it. It's impossible for me to binge.
Did you get to episode 6? Because that's my favorite episode.
I've watched.
How have you not got to episode 6 yet?
I've watched 4 episodes at this point.
Alright, well, you got to speed it up because that episode's fucking amazing.
Okay, I'll try to get to episode 6
and then
before the end of this week.
Then the other best one is episode 22, so you got to wrap it. Yeah.
Damn.
On the backlog to watch at some point, my current biggest priorities are Parasite the Maxim.
Oh yes. You're gonna love that.
Nise Monogatari and Neko Monogatari, and then of course finishing Mushishi, as well as as soon as I get my fingers on it, watching the film Weathering with You, just because it's Makoto Shinkai.
Oh, I need to watch that.
Yeah, I haven't yet. I haven't found any good place to watch it yet. But yeah, I those have been on my list for several weeks now, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I've been busy with other things.
Yeah,
mostly school.
You've moved back to Germany for your holidays as well, so
yeah.
I can imagine.
Well, the restaurant's closed, so there's not that much work there, because Corona's a thing.
I mean, you've been working on the podcast, which has been taking time as well, so.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I finished episode 2. Oh shit, I still have to upload that. But yeah, I finished it. Well, I finished the first draft of it. I've been working, like I said, on the portfolio, working on the show reel to send for internships. We started a new project at school, which is a 3D live action integration project, which my main job in it was making the rig, so that took 4 days in which I was working on it almost without end and without sleep, and just a whole bunch of small things here and there that prevented me from watching anything. Plus I just haven't been in the mood for it either.
Yeah, I think I've watched one more episode of Kill la Kill with my friend, and we were like, this is not really the kind of show that we want to watch together. So
but keep on it at least until Ragio comes
out.
Yeah,
I will watch it.
See if you like it or not.
I will watch it in my own
time. Why
first.
do you hate it so much?
Me or Speedy?
Why do I not like Kill la Kill? Firstly, I really dislike how much they do fan service, and they try to explain it away, but it just feels like it feels like a flimsy excuse to just it's worked into the plot, so it's okay. Like,
if you're gonna excuse it, do it like they do in No Game No Life, where you're just basically saying, hey, our main characters are filthy, icky, filthy weeps, so if they're going to have an opportunity to see people naked, they're gonna take that fucking opportunity. That's the only time I ever excuse excessive fan service like that.
I think that's actually the biggest reason why I just didn't feel like finishing it with my friend. But I want to watch it eventually on my own and then form an actual proper opinion about it, because I've seen the whole show, I've only seen like 3 episodes right now. Next on the list to watch is what's the boxing anime that came out not too long ago, based on Ashita no Joe. God, what's the name?
The one on the motorcycle.
Medaka-box?
Yes, Megalobox. That's got to be next.
Medaka-box is the light novel thing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Megalobox, I think.
Yeah, it's Megalobox.
And we've been group watching something new since we finished with Cowboy Bebop. We decided to group watch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood again, because
of course,
why not? It's yes.
Can you recite the show yet?
Maybe not, but I can probably tell you which episodes do what. In order, not if you told me to tell me what happened in episode 5.
What was episode 13?
Hold on. Because we've watched. I think that's when they go to Rush Valley for the first time. I'm not sure. No. I don't know. I can't tell you that yet. Give me a few more watches and maybe I'll be able to tell you.
Fine.
All right, then other question. Since, Speedy and I haven't really watched anything, what are we all looking forward to for the coming season? Because from the looks of it, spring, winter 2021 is going to be stacked.
Yeah, it's just an infinite amount of sequels. I think there's like 15 sequels.
Damn.
Probably, yeah.
I mean,
that sounds about right.
There's one that I'm very, very much looking forward to, which is The Promised Neverland Season 2, right? Or am I mistaken there?
No, that's coming out, yeah. It is.
Oh, yes.
Oh, there's Lock Horizon Season 3 as well. That's fucking sick.
Oh. Well,
I mean, aside from the sequels, I'm also really, really looking forward to Horimiya, because I absolutely adore that manga, and the trailers look so good and so pretty, so I cannot wait for that one to come out.
We're gonna have to definitely talk about that once it comes out.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it.
But is there anything beyond Horimiya and the sequels that pops out to you? Because I haven't looked through the new shows at all.
I'm looking through them right now. Give me a sec.
Yeah, we don't want to stretch this too long.
Oh, Kemono Jihen is also one I'm looking forward to, because again, I've read the manga to that, and I mean it's a typical shonen, except all of the backstories are really fucked up, really messed up, not in the typical I'm in the Naruto kind of I'm an orphan kind of a way, but every single character was sexually abused in one way or another.
Oh, okay.
And I love it.
Yeah, okay. We'll see how that goes.
That's a good soundbite. Every character was sexually abused in some kind of way, and I love it. That's good.
That goes in the Salty Triangle out of context compilation.
That doesn't have to go there. But yeah, no, we've only seen the backstories of a few people so far in the manga itself, at least from what's translated so far, I should say. And yeah, they're all fucked in the sexual sense one way or another, and I think it's absolutely glorious, and I cannot wait for it to come out and see all of the reactions on it. So I'm looking forward to that.
I feel like I should not ask, but why? Why is something like that glorious to you? Or is this too personal?
Well, for one, they're all really good. All of the backstories are, legitimately disturbing and good. They're all done really, really well. I don't know. I just watch people suffering. I like misery.
She likes to make people suffer as well.
Too.
One of her best traits.
Thank you. I'm a real life villainess. But then also, I kind of like how all of the things that happen to these characters, how they all translate into, their current lives, how they have affected them, how they deal with them, and how, because all of them are trying to, seem like they're okay, but, there's a definite, like, once you know what's going on, traits that at one point you were like, this is so, typical shonen, this is so anime, like, people only behave in this in anime, and then you learn their backstories, and you're like, oh, that explains a lot, actually.
So, what is it about?
So, I like that, too.
What is it about?
It's about,
In short.
you know what kemono are, right?
Sorry?
You know what kemono are?
I don't count our
Kemono?
friends. Does that help me?
Yes, it does, actually, because, but kemono is a word for, beast, basically.
I see.
Oh, yeah, beast, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's about this quote-unquote detective agency that, takes their... Basically, it's, a world in which human and beast people, most of them being hybrids, live side by side. And there's this detective agency that helps the beast people. The beast people try to stay hidden as good as they can, just because, they fear retaliation from the humans, but, they do mix and mingle in everyday human life. And so the head of the detective agency picks up this little boy who is half ghoul. I think he's half ghoul. Is he half ghoul? No, he's half ghoul. I wasn't sure if he's half ghoul or full ghoul. Who is our main character, who, due to being a ghoul, he's, kind of half dead, and people, like, did not like him very much for, his inability to show emotions, or, the horrid smell that always comes from him, and, things like that, but he didn't really care, because, like, he doesn't really have emotions much in the beginning. But yeah, so the head of the detective agency takes the boy under his wing, and then they just, go off and help, the different beast people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bigger plot in there, but I don't know how the anime is going to handle it. In the manga, it takes a while to unfold, because in the beginning, it's just, getting to know the people in the detective agency.
And it's very shonen.
And, getting to know the world. It's very shonen until you get to the backstories, and you're like, holy shit, this is not kid-friendly. But it definitely starts off as a very typical shonen, and the fights are also very typical shonen.
Because you also called Horimiya a shonen in the chat itself? That didn't look very
because
shonen.
it's
Published in...
I don't know. Yeah, it's published in a shonen magazine though, despite the fact that it's very much a romance slice of life.
I mean, what? Okay, so what makes a shonen? Who decides where the genre stops?
Shonen is the most
technically
fucking
speaking,
stupid
it's a
genre.
genre.
It's the most stupid...
It's not a genre,
Okay, yeah,
though.
okay, at least we agree on that.
Officially, it's not a genre.
Yeah, okay, it's a fucking demographic. Like, it's not a genre.
Yeah, it's a demographic.
Right. I see.
I mean, we use it as a genre a lot, just because, all of the battle anime, the high school battle anime fall under that...
Right.
That umbrella really well, but technically speaking, shonen never has been and probably never will be its own genre.
Because the way that I see it, if someone tells me, yeah, I really like shonen, what I think about when they say that is I like things like One Piece or Naruto or Fairy Tail or I don't know, Fullmetal Alchemist probably falls under that kind of thing as well. Actual battle shonens in a way, or even the kind of things like, I mean, Promised Neverland isn't really a battle shonen. I guess Death Note is in a way because mind battles, but
if you were to say that, at least the first season of The Promised Neverland would also fall into the category of, mind battles.
True. I guess that's true. But it doesn't have.
I haven't read the manga.
Shonen...
Speedy, you have. So,
I have.
Yeah, no spoilers.
True, but it doesn't have, even in a manga, it doesn't have that battle shonen feel. The Promised Neverland does things very differently, story-wise. It develops its stories differently.
Until L came in, up until Kira and L actually had their first, contact, neither did Death Note. Death Note didn't feel like a battle shonen until the second half.
I guess. I mean, that's it, right? Because in episode 2 of our podcast, we had some confusion because we didn't really set a boundary on the term or whatever. So we should probably set a boundary right now on what we see as shonen before we go forward talking about shonen. What is shonen? What falls under it? What does fall under it? For example, let's say Attack on Titan. Do we see Attack on Titan as a shonen anime?
It's probably a seinen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I would
what I was
agree.
thinking.
But to be entirely fair, though, I'm very, very personally, I'm very what's the word I'm looking for here? Like undecided on that. Like, yeah, it's not really like it kind of is because
seinen.
Of the people that it attracts, because like the main demographic is the same demographic that would watch Naruto. But at the same time, like the way the story structure is built, like you can tell it wasn't marketed or created for that demographic. So I'm a little torn on whether or not Attack on Titan is shonen or seinen.
No,
Right.
I think it's my first seinen. You watch shonen all your life, and then you watch Attack on Titan for the first time, and you learn about a whole new world of what anime can be.
Right. True.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
What about JoJo's? Is JoJo's shonen?
Well, it's in shonen.
JoJo's is
shonen
JoJo's.
parts.
JoJo's is JoJo's. JoJo's is JoJo's.
That's a
You
good.
cannot
That's a good.
categorize it.
That's a genre. JoJo's is a genre.
By the way, big hot take here. I do not like JoJo's Bizarre
Yeah,
Adventure.
JoJo's is really mid.
Did we talk about this in our episode 0 that was never released, or was it episode 1?
I think so.
I don't have no idea.
No, we didn't
Yeah.
talk about it in
We
episode
didn't talk
1,
about it.
but we definitely talked about it at some point.
We talked about it, but I think it was episode 0. So
Maybe.
'cause
Or
it's-
either that or one of the tests that we did.
Yeah.
That's also possible.
But so since the viewers don't know this yet, then I don't think any of us are really into JoJo's.
Well, to be fair, I've only seen part 1, 2, and 3, and I think everybody can agree that, part 1 is kind of clumsy, part 2 is kind of camp, and part 3 is very,
I don't know.
monster of the week.
I don't know.
Part
I've
one,
talked.
I thought part 1 was a lot more watchable than part 2 was. Part 2
I-
was a fucking hell ride. I hated it so much.
I've talked to Shu about
I
this.
like part, yeah.
I've talked to Shu about this. Pory knows who Shu is.
Who the fuck is Shu?
Yeah,
I don't know who Shu is.
you don't know who
Who
Shu is, but he's like, part 2 is one of the best ones.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can believe that, to be honest.
I mean, to be entirely fair, out of all of the protagonists so far, what was the second one's name? Joseph? No, that wasn't that. Yeah, Joseph Joestar.
Jonathan was the
The
first one.
second one, right?
Jonathan
Yeah,
was
okay.
the first
So
one.
Joseph Joestar, the second one, is, as a character out of all of them, so far the most enjoyable to watch. He's the most charismatic out of all
I
of
hate
them.
I hate his guts. I understand it.
Why?
He's a villain, but
I mean, he is, but
we
he's
say he's
fun
the main.
to watch.
He's a villain, but we say he's the main character. Say he's a hero. Like that's not. Just yeah, I couldn't stand what like. At no point did I root for him to win like or anything. Like he just like is a dickhead the whole time and gets away with it.
I mean, again, he is, but he's also very
he
enjoyable in that.
he intentionally loses and then wins because the show says so.
Okay, but that's that's Isaiah in a nutshell as well.
Yeah, but Isaiah's not the hero though. Isaiah's a villain.
That's fair. I mean, some people would disagree, but I think it's fair.
Yeah, and there's no scene where like Isaiah gets like when Isaiah gets punched, that's like catharsis right there. There's no scene where like Joseph gets a shit kicked out of him because he's being an idiot. Like he always gets rewarded for being fucking stupid.
I mean, he's not an idiot.
But in the end-
He's smart, but he's not a nice character. Let's put it that way.
But in the end, none of us have watched what most people would call the best part, which is 4, 5, maybe 6.
Yeah, I'll get to that.
And then
I will at some point, just because cultural impact.
and then the manga is supposedly even better. So
I
Yeah, but manga readers will say that about every manga ever made. So
true. I mean, mostly I would agree on a lot of that. But then again, anime has its own charm that manga can't quite capture. So
I don't have the attention span to read manga.
I think it's easier to read a chapter of a manga than watch an episode of an anime.
No,
Or to just start a manga.
when there isn't pretty colors and sounds, I get bored. So I have to watch shows. I can't.
Okay, I'm gonna be very Sheila.
You are such a typical
Get over
teenager.
yourself.
Exactly, get fucking over yourself.
So we kind of transitioned into the shonen thing without actually having Pory even call me out on the transition.
Yeah, it was so smooth. I didn't notice.
I noticed, and I wanted to call it out, but you know, like the conversation kept going, and I didn't want to stop it.
To be honest, when Sheila started talking about Horimiya, I was like, okay, the transition's coming, and then I braced myself, and it didn't come, so I kind of just forgot about it. To be honest,
we lulled you into a false sense of security.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing: I wanted to still bring something up that had to do with something I've watched. And we just kind of moved on. I really want to mention it because it's probably the best thing that I've watched between the two. And it's not really an anime, it's an AMV. Animegraphy 2020. I wouldn't just bring up any kind of AMV up. But
I thought you didn't like music
shit.
videos.
Yeah, you sent that to me. You linked that to me. I haven't watched that one either. I haven't watched shit in the last few weeks. I
can't. I really don't like AMVs, but it is very good. I have this.
Yes.
Yeah, it is very, very good.
It's so ambitious,
I'll watch it for next
and
time.
I love it. Do you know what animegraphy is at all, Sheila?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so
We've talked about this.
For the uninitiated, animegraphy is a series of AMVs started by a guy or a girl, I don't actually know, named Kill.
A person.
Qyll. And they set out to do what no one has ever done before that point, which is to create an AMV with at least one scene from every single anime released in that particular year into one thing and make it good. I think the first one was 2012, which is, I think I discovered it back then, the very first version. And I was instantly in love with it. And I just looked forward to the end of the year, just to see the newest version of Animegraphy. And then Kill just did 4 versions till 2015. And then he stopped. And everyone was like, oh, but now we have to miss this. And then a few people tried to do 2016. None of them were really good, but Verifin was eventually the one that started
took on the mantle.
Yeah, took on the mantle. Started to do them every year. So I was like, okay, well, I guess this person is the next one. And they've been steadily improving over the years, because they were 2016 was a little bit scuffed. It wasn't that good. Probably one of the worst ones. But 2020 is amazing. I haven't seen almost any of the anime in 2020, but the Animegraphy of 2020 is, oh god, it's glorious. It's glorious. I've said that I don't like music videos, but I guess the AMVs are a different thing, because I just see how the lines that they put in the particular segments of the music video fit very well with the theme. There's follow up on those lines. The scenes that are shown they correlate with the music. I can go on about this forever, but I really wanted to bring it up. I was hoping Sheila would have watched it eventually. Maybe I should have just pushed you to watch it a little bit more.
Sorry, I forgot.
It's alright. I forget some things as well, as you might know.
Like
and it's a good thing to hear.
Very, very busy.
And it's a good thing to hear Pory say he likes it, because he doesn't.
Actually, I changed my mind. I remembered.
Oh yeah,
it's terrible. They said that a scene was from Healing Good Precure, but it's not. It's from the Precure movie. How dare you? Okay, you get the point.
You hear that, Verifin? You made a mistake.
Unbelievable.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, they for every scene they show in the AMV, there's a in the top right they have a title of the show it's from. So if you're interested, you can instantly look it up. Yeah, that's I wanted to talk about. I wanted to just bring it up because it's I've watched that thing at least 10 times, maybe 20 times already. Yeah, I love it. Sometimes when I have a break at work, It's like it's a 10-minute break. The AMV is 8 minutes. I sometimes like I guess the best way to just spend this break is just watch the whole AMV, and it makes me happy. I love it. So Shonen, right? We're coming back to Shonen. I might just.
Hey, there's a transition there.
An awful transition too.
It's the worst.
How dare you,
I
Speedy.
might just swap these two topics around to have them.
But then we could
still
roast
there.
you
I
on
don't know.
transitions.
I mean, I guess, but there's no way I could have still made a good transition from that AMV to our main topic, Shonen.
Nope.
So let me just make this horrible transition. Pory, what have you seen when it comes to Shonen? Battle Shonen. Let's start with actual battle
Okay,
Shonen.
the first show I watched was Fairy Tail, so I remember that one.
Did you finish it?
I haven't watched the new season, the one that came out last year or whatever. Other than that, I've seen all of it.
I'm not gonna lie, it's the best one out of them, I would say.
Really? Because I lied. I've read a manga before. I read that part of the manga. It was like the worst part. I couldn't fucking stand it.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just something about like how they. Well, to be fair, the season that came before that took away all of the color in Fairy Tail and made it like all bland and bleak. In order to make quote unquote more adult and dark, and I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? Fairy Tail isn't adult or dark.
So then the finale season is colorful. I wouldn't have thought of that from the manga.
Yes, it's very, very colorful.
Interesting. That's the one with
Which
the
I'm very
bloke
happy
who
about.
revive.
And they bring back the original soundtrack, which I'm also very happy about.
Yeah, that's when I was reading it, it just felt like they were trying to pump as much nostalgia into it as possible, because they had the bloke that revives everyone, so they get to do every fight again.
Yeah, but that's
that's
such a typical Fairy Tail trick though. They do that. They pull shit like that out of their asses all the time. There's a reason why people think that Fairy Tail is the worst shonen.
Wait, are you telling me that there's a shonen trope that I don't like? That's crazy. Okay, I've got the Shonen tab pulled up right now. Okay, let's see.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I've seen Blue Exorcist. I've seen Noragami.
Noragami is definitely a show.
Okay, Battle Shonen. I've seen My Hero, obviously. I've seen Assassination Classroom and Food Wars and High School of the Dead.
High School of the Dead. It says
it's a shonen right here.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a shonen.
It is a shonen. It is such a shonen.
I mean, I guess it's aimed towards the age demographic.
I guess, yeah.
It doesn't have any of the feel of a shonen.
We're just talking about Battle Shonen, right?
I think we should be talking about Battle Shonen more, especially if we want to bring
I've
up
dropped Black
Ichigo.
Clover.
Okay, but Pory, question. Have you watched High School of the Dead in English?
No, I watched it in Japanese.
Oh, you gotta watch it in English. It is fantastic.
Always the dub lover.
Yeah, I'm running out of Battle Shonen that I've seen. I'm down to Jujutsu Kaisen. That's how far I've got.
Have you never fake thought maybe I should try out Naruto or One Piece or Bleach?
Mostly because it's too at the point where I was maybe would have enjoyed it, when I was really new. I just wanted to watch as many shows as I could, and I was like, well, this show is an infinite amount of episodes, so I could watch 100 shows in the time I could watch this show, which is how I feel now. So I clearly haven't changed it much.
Why prioritize a lot of small shows over one big show?
It's I could sit here and watch the same show for 3 months, or I could have a wide variety of. Especially when you're new, I want to try. I want to sample a bit of everything. I don't want to sit here and watch the same show forever. I just watched
I mean, I could get behind that. That's fair.
And because I was watching so many I immediately started watching I had immediately started watching the Misty Connexes and the list people when they were talking about all these shows. I'm I want to watch every single show here. I want to watch every single show that they've ever mentioned in a video. So I can't. If I watch this long show, then I can't watch all of these other shows.
Depends on how dedicated you are, on how quickly you want to watch.
Yeah, I don't want to sit there spending 4 hours a day watching this show.
I think I finished Naruto in 2 weeks. Back 5 years ago or something.
Wait, just the original or including Shippuden?
I don't know exactly. I did skip No, I'm not sure if I skipped. No, I didn't. Maybe. No, not including Shippuden because I've never finished Shippuden. But maybe partly also Shippuden, but definitely the original. Because back then I was in college for 1 year. I've only been to college for 1 year before I basically was kicked out / left. Because I was advised to not try again. That's because all I did was watch anime in class. That's all I did. Because I just had it was some kind of computer app creation college degree that I was going for. So we always had computers with us. And all I did was just watch my own stuff. I was always in the corner somewhere where the teacher couldn't see what you were doing on your screen, and I was just watching anime. This is actually one of the most embarrassing things I might say on this podcast, but I actually watched Kiss Exist in class.
That's a power move. That's a power move.
A guy actually
a
guy who knew what it was actually came up to me and like, "Are you really watching that in class?" I was like, I guess, yeah.
What a power
It's also a power move to openly admit.
Honestly, that's not embarrassing. That is respectful. That is really, 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 really challenging.
I just didn't care. I was like, I'm just watching this. If you really want to watch along, you're gonna have to make a lot of effort to do that because I was in the back of the class, so no one really would be seeing it. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to say that I've watched Kiss Exist because it's terrible. I guess it has the quality of it's so bad it's good, but
I just watched a movie like that yesterday.
I don't remember much of the show except there was a lot of incest.
As the name would suggest.
Welcome to anime.
Incest.
Anime 101. There's a lot of incest.
Where was I going with this? Oh right, because I watched Naruto in 2 weeks or something. But yeah, I would say if you're just watching 1 hour of it per week or per day, it would take you a long time to finish that. That's the thing for me with shonen. The moment I started a shonen, because it's not like that anymore, but the moment when I started a shonen back in the day, I got so invested that I just couldn't stop watching. I just kept watching everything. That's how I got. I've watched like 500-600 episodes of One Piece, and I've almost finished Bleach, but just barely didn't. I still haven't seen the ending of the anime. And Naruto, I think I stopped after someone during the arc where they revive all the old enemies, and there's a huge war. Again, reviving all the old enemies, which is a shonen trope that I really dislike. But gotta have those favorite characters show up as much as possible.
You gotta sell the figurines, obviously. So.
Yeah, merch.
Yeah, I think like, but shonen isn't all as big on figurines as the cute girl shows are. I think those are the ones that really sell the figurines. Those and the harem, ecchi stuff.
That's probably the one zone I haven't stepped into is buying all the cute girl stuff.
I haven't really done.
Maybe that's the next. Maybe that's the next stage of my evolution in watching cute girl shows. I need to buy all the.
Maybe you need to devolve.
I do have a Haruhi trading card and a Shinobu trading card. That's pretty good.
Two degenerates and an elite walk into a bar.
Yeah, we haven't seen the comments on the joke yet, so we can't finish it yet.
Because it's not up yet.
Yeah, it's not up yet. True. That's why.
At the time of this recording. One of these days, though. I'm honestly looking forward to that. I hope we get some good ones.
Yes. So, to you, what would you say is your favorite battle shonen? You've seen Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah, no, it's obviously Mob 100. That show's actually good.
I mean, is that a battle show?
I mean, it definitely is.
Yeah, I'd say so.
If it qualifies, I see.
It's not your typical battle shonen, but it's definitely a battle shonen.
Okay, I mean, I guess I could see why. It's fucking good. It's amazing. I'd say for me, it's first Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood because it's my favorite overall, and then Mob Psycho 100. Yeah, and Haikyuu. Haikyuu is amazing. Haikyuu.
That's not a battle shonen.
No, but Haikyuu. Yeah,
it is.
I mean, it is.
It is. It is.
Can we make the distinction between like normal battle shonen and sports shonen? Can we make that distinction?
I mean,
pretty
I
please?
think sports shonen is a sub-genre of battle shonen.
All right. Okay, Sheila, what about Hajime no Ippo, huh?
I haven't watched Hajime no Ippo. Not yet.
Okay, but it's a show about boxing, so is it a battle shonen because they fight, or is it a sports shonen because they play a sport?
I mean, fighting can be seen very symbolically, so if you could call every single match a fight as well in Haikyuu or Kuroko no Basuke or whatever.
Okay,
other
like
sports.
having not seen it, my evaluation as of this moment would be it's more into the sports shonen because the only time they actually fight is when they are in the ring in the sport. If there were, more fighting outside of that than inside the ring, I would call it a battle shonen. But again, I haven't seen it, and a lot of it depends on the structure.
That's how it is, as far as I've seen. But I think it's a subgenre. I think you can say that because it is a battle shonen. They are fighting. It has all the tropes of a battle shonen as well, and just that.
Yes, but I would like to make the distinction. Like like you said, it is a subcategory, but I would like to make the distinction for various reasons because there are a lot of tropes that apply to battle shonen that do not apply to sports shonen and vice versa.
Definitely.
So that's why I would like to make the distinction. You cannot quite put them in the same category.
But would you say that Haikyuu is your favorite battle shonen then?
Me?
Yes, you. Or is it Fairy Tail? Because you like Fairy Tail as well.
I like Fairy Tail. I like it a lot, despite the fact that I shit on it a lot. But no, Fairy Tail is far from being my favorite. It has a lot of themes that I like, hence why, I like it a lot. I don't know. I don't think I really have a favorite. Haikyuu's definitely up there.
Other
I also really like
other contenders.
I really like Hiroaka because Bakugo's in it.
That's a good.
Bakugo's best boy.
That's a respectable reason. That's respectable. See, wait. So I'm not allowed to like cute girl shows, but you're allowed to like shows that have boys in them. Something about this seems like a double standard.
It just means that you're allowed to call her out on it as much as she calls you out on it.
Exactly. No, it's like I'm not one for pretty boys or best boys. Like I have my best boys and my best girls, and I have like my waifus and my husbandos. But no, I don't like a show just because because it's like a boy show or just because it's a shonen show. But once it there will be shows that have a standout character to them and me that I watch mostly for that character. Hiroaka isn't that show, but like Bakugo is for me by far the most favorite part of the show.
If you could marry anyone in the anime universe, it would be him.
It would be Bakugo.
I like Hiroaka
Bakugo's best boy.
because of Stain. He's like my favorite villain in anime, I think. But he's like not in it, which just kind of sucks.
Yeah, he was
the most
there for like 3 episodes.
He's
right?
the most just the idea that is really, 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 really interesting. Is like this guy, it's like very real world-esque. It's like this disenfranchised guy. He starts like a super, extremist, like regime, and then he gets other disenfranchised people to join. That's really, really real, and that's really that's really good. But the show,
what is the view? What's view does Stain have as opposed to the heroes?
His problem is that heroism shouldn't be like a product. It should be something that is like a right. It should be like we should be protected. We shouldn't have to it shouldn't be commercialized at all.
Right.
And the fact that it has, and it's really corrupt, and now it's because it's just corrupt, and the power's in all the wrong places.
Capitalism.
Yeah, essentially, it's been turned into a product. It's not this human right anymore. It's now something that
people become heroes for there are too many heroes that are heroes for the wrong reasons. Heroes should be heroes because their main goal is, to help others regardless of their own needs and wants. And only people who follow that philosophy are real heroes. And people who become it, for the fame or, to feel better about themselves or to, or for whatever other reasons there might be, for the money, aren't real heroes. And they should not be taking up the mantle of heroes. So, that's his philosophy on it.
So is there a part of Hiroaka besides Stain that makes a critical message in a similar way to the show, because I feel like from what I've seen and from what I remember, that Stain is the only one that actually brings that up.
Well, there are followers of Stain, and like the League of Villains or whatever is like 50-50 split between people who just want to like fuck shit up and like the Stain like followers.
Right.
But, yeah, I can't think of something that I like about the show that doesn't in some way relate to Stain, because he's just so
I have parts of it, but it's kind of, and we've talked about this before, it's, like all of the people who are villains, most of them anyways, are villains because their quirks did not fit into society. Yeah. And it's this entire, like anime thing of the people whom society has wronged in one way or another, are the villains because they try to change the status quo. It's a discussion for another day. Yeah. And I do like the fact that it's in there. But, if it wasn't such an overdone thing in anime, I would like it a lot more.
I think my biggest problem with Hero Aka is that it doesn't do enough with the message that Stain tries to bring. Because Stain has a good point, and then he basically everyone who has that same opinion as Stain is put away as a villain. And I don't think the main characters or side characters, the good heroes, really see their view like a commercialized heroism is bad as something they should engage with rather than just beat up or just get rid of.
Deku has this like moment where he's talking to in the season 4, and it annoys me that so much because like season 4 is like the worst season just because there's just so much fluff in it, and it's so like if there's the amount of time that feels like there's just dead. There's just so much dead space where it's just like X random character will fight X random character because we need to make 24 episodes or whatever. Like there is basically a line like some line of dialogue where like what's the fuck's name? Gentle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he wasn't in the manga. He was an anime only character. Yeah, so I have no idea what his deal is.
So yeah, he's basically talking to Deku about like I was in your position. I was the star kid in class. And then I forget the specifics, but like he drops out of school, and he's like he is now the guy that dropped out of the academy. That's his like whole brand.
Right.
Some labeling theory there, and so he now like just he looks for any shred of attention he can by like making silly internet videos where he steals from like like convenience stores and stuff. And he has a line of like with Deku, like you could be me in 10 years, like help me to do like what I'm about to do. Where he's like trying to invade the school. I think he's trying to blow it up. I don't remember.
That's kind of random.
And then Deku's like, I sympathize wholeheartedly, but I can't let you blow the school up. And then he like kicks the shit out of him. But that's it. Like that's that one scene is like it. It could be so much better, but it just.
But that's a very typical. That's a very typical problem, not just in shonen, but like in anime and manga in general. That it touches upon the idea of social inadequacies, but it's always the status quo must be upheld, and that's not even just an anime manga problem. That is a deep rooted cultural problem because the Japanese are all about keeping the harmony for any means possible. So anybody who tries to change something, who tries to, make a difference in one way or another, even if it's for the better, is automatically going to become the villain, just because that's how ingrained the idea of keeping the peace in the society is into the Japanese mindset. And I find that very, very problematic.
Yeah, I think we've had at least a little bit of a conversation about this, where we were like, okay, well, let's try to think of any anime where the main characters are actively trying to change the status quo and are
not the villain.
Yeah, and are also portrayed as being the heroes. And I think I can only think of.
Honestly, Talentless Nana might be the example. It's pretty crazy.
Sorry?
Talentless Nana might be the example. That's pretty crazy. That's...
I remember we were talking about how Attack on Titan might be that,
Attack on Titan, maybe.
But like we also thought about season 4. Was said to completely, utterly, disrupt the status quo that was set in the anime itself. So we should not judge until that's out.
And then there's, I think, Sankyo no Terror, but they're put away as terrorists. They're main characters, and it's very the show tries its hardest to make the viewer sympathize with them, but they're still the outcasts in the society. So maybe that counts, but far and wide, especially in shonen, it is always I must protect the status quo, or I must become the head of the status quo. It is never I must change how this world works because it's bad. And as Sheila says, that is kind of problematic because you can kind of loosely tie that in with propaganda and oh god, that's another discussion we had, didn't we? The propaganda.
Yeah, it was
let's do that for another day. It was a silly discussion too.
We are looping back a lot to the episode 0 discussions here.
I think those were all test discussions.
Oh,
yeah,
that was a test. That was a test discussion. Propaganda and what is propaganda? What constitutes as propaganda? Do we want to get?
And we shouldn't dive too deep into that because that could be a topic for a whole nother day. We could talk about this forever.
I think we should do that. We should the way that the status quo is always upheld in anime. But you know what? Put in the comments down below if you can think of any other anime that are more or less prominent in one way or another. We don't need the small stuff, but prominent anime that actually have the heroic protagonist challenge the status quo, or manga, whatever. Manga's fine too. Light novels.
One that I can actually think of, kind of, is One Piece. I don't like One Piece. Another hot take. But One Piece kind of does it in that they don't do it
They're
actively.
pirates.
They do not try to change the status quo actively, but just by being themselves and going after their own goals, our crew, the Straw Hat Heroes, do change the world around them. It's not an active decision, but they are the heroes.
Yeah, they're pirates. They're not part of the status quo in the first place. So everything they do is gonna challenge the status quo of the government in. Right. There, so I can see that. Yeah.
Right, but the show
actively.
also
they're
goes out of its and the show does do its darndest to frame the pirates as the good guys.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess One Piece is the best prominent example so far in shonen. We wanted to quickly talk about Ichigo. And the problem of is it a problem? Shonen protagonists? Is it a problem?
Weren't we still on shonen that I like, or which one my favorite one is?
Oh, were we still there?
Did you solve that riddle?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know what your favorite?
No. Well, there we go.
There we go.
There's still several more that I can think of that are high up on my list. But I don't think I have a favorite.
Let's not have you pick a favorite then. Let's have you say the nominees. What are the nominees for the prize?
Dororo. It's definitely all the way up there. Although, I don't know, can you count Dororo as a shonen?
It's very episodic, right?
I think it would be.
Yes.
I think young boys would be into it. Yeah, I think so.
Right, Dororo.
Oh.
Dororo.
Are we talking about the manga, or are we talking about the manga and the old adaptation, or the new one?
I've only watched a few episodes of the old adaptations. I'm talking about the new one mostly.
New one I'm not sure.
Because the old one is very definite shonen. That I know. From the few episodes that I have watched.
It definitely existed before the genre shonen even existed.
Well, it's not a genre, but
very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do know what I mean.
When people actively started to go for that age group as a whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying. But you know what I mean.
So another one that I really like, I don't know if that would count as a battle shonen, but Bakuman.
Oh yes, I would agree that's a shonen because it's been set up as one. It has all the traits.
So I absolutely adore Bakuman. What else?
Bakuman is alright.
Thinking. I mean, it's also about making manga, which to me is Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist is up there. Brotherhood.
Brotherhood, yeah. Oh god,
Yeah,
I love
I
that
actually
so much.
liked like the first half of the original Full Metal Alchemist more than I liked the first half
Yeah,
of
here's a
Full
hot
Metal
take.
Alchemist
Here's a
Brotherhood.
hot take. Here's a hot take. The pacing of the show is really bad after they leave the ice place. It's way too fast. That's my hot take. It's way
On
too
FMA
fast.
or FMAB?
FMAB.
FMAB. I've watched FMAB with Pory together for it's when he watched it for the first time.
Yeah, I watched like half of it, and then like 9 months later, we watched the other half.
Yeah, maybe that's maybe because it's disconnected because we started. I think we restarted watching it at the point where they actually do the coup and stuff. So I can kind of see why maybe you'd think that maybe you should watch it again, just like I do.
Yeah, I
But
don't know about that one.
What Sheila said though is not quite a hot take. Most people who've seen both series agree that the first, the first half of the original series is better constructed, gives more weight to a lot of the characters that are then important later on for.
And and like the main reason why I like it is because it really puts the weight and it really shows, you know, like the dark sides of the world, you know, so much more than Brotherhood does. Like you really feel the weight of, you know, how fucked up everything is.
True, but the criticism that it also that the start of FMA receives is that it's far too slow. What FMAB is able to convey in like 16 episodes, FMA the original series takes almost half the show. It's like 20-30 episodes to do, which is I don't know. That it sounds knowing what kind of material it handles. That's a
me
lot.
watching that is like when I watched both of them, you know, I wouldn't say it achieves the same story beats, yes, but you know, the emotional impact that the story beats give you is very, very different.
Yeah, I know.
Especially,
that's true.
You know,
and the purpose for
the dog.
The purpose for both is quite different as well.
Like, Full Metal Alchemist is slow, but I think the original one, but it is that on purpose because it really wants you to give the time to, you know, get acquainted with these characters, to get to know and to love these characters, so that when they get fucked over, you know, it's a stab to the heart much, much more so than, you know, in FMAB.
That, and they kind of had to drag it out because the manga wasn't finished yet. So.
And that. There are fillers in, you know, the original FMA
I know.
that didn't need to be there. That's the thing.
The Bury the Chopper thing, for example. Which, by the way, I've watched a bunch of videos on the differences between the two, by Low Art. Because I've never actually seen the original FMA. I still have to see it. I will eventually see it because I just can't live without actually having seen FMA eventually, because it's so important. And because I kind of want to give more weight to my arguments regarding FMA and FMAB, but I've seen a lot of comparison videos on the two, and I kind of see why some people would prefer FMA over FMAB, and how different the feeling of is, and how the themes are very different, and how I find it so fascinating how two shows can have the same start and such an extremely different thematic view, but also how do you say this? It does such a different thing with where it starts. It's kind of interesting because you don't necessarily see that anywhere else usually, where both iterations of a show that are very different at the end are both really good and can bloom to its fullest. Are there any other versions like that?
Well, I think of stuff like Sherlock Holmes and stuff, where like you take the same material an infinite amount of times.
But I think he's actually talking about the same show, doing, you know, just by presenting the exact same thing in different ways. You have, you know, such a difference in thematic and narrative weight. One that I did that was actually Fruits Basket.
I mean, Fruits Basket is different, yes, definitely. And the second version, most people say, is the better one. But it does still follow the story just as much as the original does, except the original maybe adds more scenes. Maybe, I don't know, but it doesn't eventually deviate from the source material.
Oh no, that it doesn't. I didn't think that's what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about the how the same parts that both of them adapted are so different. That's what I thought you meant. I misunderstood you.
Yeah, no. I think that's what I mean, but the difference, where FME is so unique in this is that it has to. The start is the same, basically, but despite that, it has two stories that go in wildly different directions, with wildly different narrative and narrative themes, and just still nails it completely.
I have one actually. Gakko and Alice. Gakko and Alice does the same thing.
I haven't seen that, so I wouldn't be able to judge, but.
I mean, the manga is, very silly, and the anime is very silly and very lighthearted, and it keeps that, silly and lighthearted tone. Like, it deviates from the manga at some point, like, most anime did, and still do. But, much like FMA, it kind of sort of sticks the landing, because, they give their own spin on it enough time to, breathe and actually become its own thing. Whereas the manga, becomes an angst fest, basically. Oof. And, becomes one of those, it goes in the Akatsuki no Yona route, where, it's very definitely shoujo, but, there's a lot of very messed up, fucked up things happening.
It's kind of the more mainstream shoujo.
I wouldn't call that mainstream shoujo. It's more of a, it's shoujo that goes into the direction of, what's the adult shoujo genre called?
Josei?
Josei, yeah. Like, it's shoujo that borders on josei. But it starts off as a very typical shoujo. And the anime stays the very typical shoujo, and the manga is like, yeah, no, fuck that. Let's go get adult here.
We should do a shoujo episode sometimes, because I feel like that's
we should.
There's a lot to be said about that is almost never being said, because I mean,
everybody just talks about shonen all the time. I haven't
seen much. Yeah.
Shoujo's for girls, though, right?
Yes.
I'm joking.
I mean, shoujo literally means girls, so...
It was made for girls.
Yeah.
With the audience as mainly girls in mind. But like, Fruits Basket is a shoujo, but holy shit, that's an amazing show. So...
It is an amazing show.
It is an amazing
show.
Shoujo can be very amazing. Very, very amazing.
So I feel like we should probably have a talk about shoujo eventually. That's a topic for the future. But...
So just two more shows that are really up there for me are, just like Pory, Mob Psycho 100, so we don't have to talk about that one anymore. Mm-hmm. And then Blue Exorcist was there until the newest, well, I wouldn't say the newest, but, until the events of the manga that happened about, half a year ago, just completely. It had so much potential, and then it went the typical shonen route, and now it's not one of my favorites anymore.
Have you seen the anime?
Yes.
Have you seen the new ones?
Yes.
Like the Kyoto arc, whatever it's called?
Yes.
That stuff, that is really terrible.
The Kyoto arc is terrible? Well, okay, yeah, the adaptation isn't that good.
That's the one with the giant like fucking Play-Doh monster, right? And they all set on fire?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
like I said, the adaptation isn't that good. It has some very powerful moments in there, but there were a lot of things that were botched enough to the point where those powerful moments didn't hit as hard as they should have.
I have a question about Blue Exorcist, actually. I've seen the first season, and then I've read the manga, and I realized that the first season did a very different thing compared to what the manga did. Because the anime, it's a typical anime only ending. It is not only that, but then they also made the brother get the same thing, whereas that's very different in the manga. But then they also still continued the story.
Yeah,
so how did they fix that? How did they fix that?
They never really did. Basically, that was a very typical staple that happened a lot in the 2000s and partly even in the early 2010s, where, you know, a show would come out. Pandora Hearts did the same thing, actually. The show would come out and they would adapt it to a point, but then because there wasn't enough material and they were like, well, you know, this isn't worth a second season, or we don't have the means for a second season, or whatever it is. For whatever reason, they wouldn't make a second season. They would be, you know, okay, so let's just wrap this up and give this its own ending, right? And that's what Full Metal that's what Full Metal Alchemist did. That's what Pandora Hearts did. That's what Blue Exorcist did. That's what Tokyo Ghoul did. A lot of anime did that for a while.
Soul Eater as well. Man, I want a new version of Soul Eater. I just want a new...
Yeah, Soul Eater did that. So a lot of anime used to do that, and so then at some point, you know, they realized, oh wait, there's a lot of money to be made, you know, actually adapting that thing entirely. So they started adapting them, and basically what most of them did was, you know, they just continued the anime from where they had set off, and so you can basically watch them and be like, okay, you know, so long as you ignore the first, the last arc of the first season, you know, you're basically where you're supposed to be.
That's so bad, though, because that means that if you only watch the anime and you watch season 1 and you watch season 2, and things just are different altogether, because now the brother doesn't have the power all of a sudden.
Yes. Giguk has made a whole video. Giguk has made a whole video about that.
Who?
Giguk.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that.
Yes, he's made a whole video about that, a whole video ranting about that. He says everything that I think about the topic, so just go watch that video.
Go watch.
I have nothing to add to that.
Go watch the video. We can link to it or
Anime
something.
Endings. It's called Anime Endings.
Oh God, I hate that. That pisses me off somehow. I don't know why. That pisses me off.
Yeah, but it's not really, you know, the fault of the creators. I think it's just a fault of, you know, like a result of, you know, the state that the industry was in at the time, because that was before anime, you know, got really, really big in the West. And, you know, as much as the Japanese market loves to invest, you know, they mostly, like, the manga itself is much, much bigger over there than anime is, because, you know, like, anime watchers are still kind of thought of as, you know, filthy, disgusting otaku, and manga is a lot more appreciated over there than anime is. And so, you know, it wasn't until anime became big in the West that making anime became really lucrative for, you know, for the anime, and not as a, you know, over-glorified commercial for the manga.
I feel like they should have just gone the Brotherhood route. Just readapt the whole thing. Maybe make it a little shorter, and then just continue instead of just retconning half of the shit they did in the last arc, and just continuing where they left off. It's kind of lazy. I'd hate that if they did that to Soul Eater, because Soul Eater was really good, but they'd had a bit of a lackluster ending, in my opinion. I'd love to see the whole of Soul Eater readapted by a studio
I
that
never
cares.
liked, from the very beginning, I didn't like the anime. Like, I loved the manga. I gobbled the manga up, but, like, even the first, like, I think I dropped Soul Eater after 25 episodes just because it bored me so much. Which is odd, because, you know, it adapts the same things, but I don't know, there was something about that just didn't speak to me.
I remember watching it fondly. I've tried multiple times to finish the manga, but somehow I never really managed to do that. I've always gotten a little bored at a certain point. I've got how many? 14 volumes right here, and I don't think I've read 13 and 14 at all.
Well, and it's about time.
Maybe I'll sit down one day and just read everything, then buy the rest as well and finish it. Because I've heard it's really good. Yeah, I've heard it has a really good ending. It is really good. It has one of the best endings.
Death the Kid becomes a standout character, and now he's, you know, husbando.
Another to the list. So, is Ichigo also in that list?
Nice transition.
I was waiting for you to call it out. I wanted to jump over to Ichigo so bad. Like, I gotta do it at any cost. Yeah. Sheila, if you could, is it a problem how most of the shonen protagonists, battle shonen protagonists, are created, how the type that they are. Is it a problem, or is it a convenient thing that we should celebrate? Or is it none of the above? Is it just a staple of shonen?
I don't
we should
think-
just be content with it.
Because
there's a type. There's
yes,
a type.
yes. I have the answer for it. Just give me a minute to think about how I want to formulate that answer.
I don't think I understand the question.
So there is a shonen battle shonen protagonist like Luffy or Naruto, or Natsu, for example, are usually fit in the same kind of type of person. They're usually
Well,
a little
not so
stupid.
in many ways
they're
doesn't either, but yeah.
I mean, I think that's true for like every character. Like, yeah, you need to. It's just like safer to make a character that fits into a mold, because being like challenging in any way is like inevitably going to mean you have less of an audience than if you were not challenging. So just like doing the same thing over and over again is going to mean that more people will read/watch your show or your manga.
So the reason why,
And especially since they're young, especially since the demographic is young people, you don't want to scare them away with this like super complex, protagonist. If you want to have something complex, you probably want it to be more subtle, like in something like My Hero, so that they aren't like overwhelmed with like all this like philosophy and social commentary and stuff. You want to have someone safe for your main character so that they can be eased into whatever your story is about, I think.
Right. So are you saying these main characters are relatively the same type because it worked the first time, and everyone's been copying them since?
It's not even necessarily that it worked the first time, that they just, especially since chances are they've been reading the same kind of books their whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna know what character traits resonate well with young people, and they'll go, well, I want my story to resonate well with young people, so I'm going to do that thing that will resonate well,
Right.
I don't think it's that simple. Like, I don't think. I mean, when we talk about shonen, like Speedy, you and I have grown up with, the hot-headed protagonist shonen, right?
Mm-hmm.
The, like you said, the Luffys and the Narutos and
The Natsus.
Yeah, and the Natsus. And right at the moment, like the trend is shifting to what one of my favorite YouTubers, or YouTube channels, calls the soft boy, protagonist, which are, the Tanjiros and the Dekus, the ones who are soft and who just want to do good, and who are emotional and all that. Like a softer type.
Right. True.
A more gentle type of masculinity.
The type has certainly changed a little bit.
Yes,
I would say.
but before our time, the people growing up in who watched anime, like all the way back in the 80s and early 90s, they had more the stoic Terminator type of shonen protagonist. The really whipped ones who barely had showed any emotions.
Macho.
Yeah, the macho type. And all the way back in the 60s, you had the childlike protagonist, the one that was that was very happy, that was very innocent, very naive. So what the staple was for shonen protagonist has changed and continues to change depending on the trends.
True.
And I think that's where the problem lies. Like, the shonen protagonist that you and I grew up with, like that, there's nothing wrong with that type per se. There's nothing wrong with those characters. What I do have a problem with is, the copy paste. You're like, oh, okay, this type of character is what's popular right now, so this type of character is what I'm going to make my main character be. It's very obvious that it starts off like creating that characters. Fun thing is, most of them are well-written characters to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shonen has very good character and very good character writing, especially something like Naruto. watching them grow up, watching them go through, all the phases of maturing. But the landscape of shonen it kind of shows that they didn't start off that way. When those characters were first created, they were created as a stereotype. When really how you should create a character is you start off, creating a person, and due to the traits of that person, they may or may not fall into, that stereotype. And that's my problem with it, more so than, the type of shonen protagonist that we have.
Right. So, Bleach also came out around the time where the protagonists were usually a little dumb, energetic, a little hot-headed, like Luffy, Natsu. Maybe to an extent.
Talking about Natsu, actually,
well.
Talking about Natsu, Hiromashima in general is a very, very good showcase of this, because in his first big shonen, which was Rave Master, Haru was very much a protagonist of the 90s, in which he was very down to earth. He had like a definite crush that he was actively pursuing. He was the voice of reason in his group. He wasn't he was the most balanced character out of all of them. He wasn't too crazy, but he wasn't exactly bland either. And then came Fairy Tail, which, came out around the time that Naruto and Bleach came out. Naruto and One Piece and whatever, when those came big. And you have, your typical hot-headed, always ready to fight, character. Mm-hmm. And now you have Eden Zero coming out, where Shiki... a lot of people were like, yeah, Eden Zero is just a Fairy Tail clone. But it really isn't, because Shiki is a very typical soft boy character who is very emotional, who is very, who just wants to make friends with everybody, who doesn't really want to fight until he absolutely has to.
Sure, the personalities, but back when the first teaser images of Eden Zero came out, everyone was like, I can see so many similarities between characters.
Yes, but that was the same case with Rave Master and Fairy Tail when Fairy Tail first came out. It was the exact same game.
I think it's a problem with the way his style is limits himself a lot.
Yeah, but but that's also, it's this is going to be the case. If one artist is known for a big work, then whatever comes next is just going to be compared. That's just the thing. But yeah, Shiki is a very typical soft boy protagonist, because now with Demon Slayer and Hiroaka being so big, that's what's popular.
Right.
So the three big Hiromashima works are very very reminiscent of are very much products of their time.
So.
And JoJo is even more reminiscent of that.
Oh yeah, because they've had a lot of protagonists.
Mm-hmm. And every protagonist, kind of like shows what is big in shonen right now at the time that it came out.
I'd have to know more about it to be able to disagree. So I'll agree. So the elephant in the room, the odd one out, of course, is Bleach, because we've mentioned Ichigo, we've mentioned Bleach. How? Why does Ichigo work? Does he work better as a protagonist? Because he's a lot more reactive
than active. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that makes him different from all of his peers, especially at the time, is he's tall.
He's what?
He's tall.
Tall.
Oh, he's tall. Tall, whatever. Sorry. Yeah. True. Most of them were short. All of them.
They still are to this day. Most of them are still short. Or if not short, then at least medium height. But
yeah, I imagine the reason is because the demographic is also short, so you want to.
Yeah, you want to be able.
You want to have that immediate.
Kids.
Yeah, that's the same reason for having them in school, right? It's like there's that immediate connection that they have with this the same. So you can like skip some introductions because there's like an immediate connection just based on these pretty arbitrary traits that the two people have.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's it. That's part of it. But what I felt about Bleach and about Ichigo, and I think Ichigo is part of that, is that it feels a lot more mature. Like, it has a different tone to the whole series, Bleach, compared to Naruto and One Piece.
Well, yes, but actually no. Because
I figured.
one thing what you're very much true is, like, for people coming into the shonen genre, like, many of them feel like the first few episodes, like, let's just say, I don't know, the first 20 episodes of every shonen feel like, of its time, I should say, feel very similar to one another. On the surface, Naruto and Fairy Tail and One Piece and whatever else was big at the time,
Reborn,
Blue Exorcist, yeah, all of those, at the surface they all look very similar, but the longer they would go on and the more time the mangaka would have to explore the worlds, the more they differentiate. Late game Naruto is very, very, very different from late game One Piece, and both of them are very different from late game Fairy Tail and so on and so forth. So while the beginnings were definitely similar, the longer it goes on, the more they differentiate. Bleach, on the other hand, was very different from the beginning. You are correct in that. But, unlike the others, Bleach doesn't really do much of a tonal shift, I would say. Like, it stays consistent in its tone, whereas the others, as we watch the characters grow and mature, changes with the maturity of the characters that we're following. Right. In different ways, yes, but yeah. And I think that's one of the things that makes Bleach stand out on the one hand side, but on the other hand side, it's also one of the problems with it, because since everything kind of stays very consistent, the only thing really changing is the scale in which things happened. That also means that the characters that we're following aren't really changing and evolving all that much.
Yeah, and you can't power scale to infinity, of course, and before it starts to get tiring. So you got to find.
Yeah, but that's a shonen problem in general.
Somehow. Yeah, true. So, every shonen eventually has a problem of power scaling, and some have called Hero Aka being able to do it more than anything else. Yeah, of course it does, but like people say, okay, yeah, well they've done it better than any other shonen before.
Well, what Hero Aka did, what a lot of other shonens didn't do, was it introduced us to a power ceiling right from the very beginning in All Might, right?
True.
And so we always knew that, okay, like, we know what these kids are capable of, and it's just a matter of how creative are they with their, with their powers. It's not so much a matter of getting stronger or getting new power-ups or whatever. It's just a matter of taking what they know and, learning, or taking what they have and learning how to use them in creative ways. And for the first 4 seasons, I would say, that is how it happened, that is how it worked, and then they introduced the concept of power evolution, and that got thrown out the window.
Oh, I haven't even gone there yet. But...
I mean, in season 4, there's the part where Deku basically goes Super Saiyan. Both, well, like even visually,
fair,
like,
that wasn't
so much his hair blue. Yeah, it's because he has airy fucking.
Yeah, okay, but that's because he has Eddie with him. She's the one who makes it happen. It's not his own. Like, it kind of shows what he is going to be capable of once he gets, control of his powers. And, they basically give him a temporary boost by having somebody, there who can literally undo all of the damage that happens to his body. But what he does is, not different at that point from what we have already seen All Might doing.
Maybe? But like, that seems like a pretty... Like, the reason they do it is because they want a flashy scene where Deku is like flying through the air because he can jump so hard, and put some pretty colours on the screen so all the people watching get excited. The reason isn't like that. Yeah, that's like the reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely true. They just created a
situation where.
Again, that is absolutely true. It's just that my point is that, however, much they just want the spectacle, that spectacle still makes sense within the rules of the power scaling that Hiroaka had introduced to that point.
So, do you think shonen normally will just like throw its? Well, I think like that too. Actually, is it shonen will just like have these rules that it's established and then it just throws them out when it's convenient to do that?
Some do. Naruto did a lot.
That's a shonen trope in and of itself.
Really? Wow, I like shonen even less.
Kind of. Well, there are a lot less shonen who do that. Like One Piece had the thing that they introduced a power ceiling midway into the story. Like at the point where big spoilers for One Piece where Ace dies. That's where we meet what was his name, Whitebeard, I think. And so he is the power ceiling that we know. As well as we've been introduced to characters that ended up serving as a power ceiling, but we just didn't know it at that point, such as Shanks. So One Piece doesn't do that, not yet. They haven't gotten to that point where they have to do that yet because the people that we follow still haven't reached the power ceiling. There's still characters out there that have been established, as the most powerful in that world that our characters have yet to reach. Naruto never really introduced the power ceiling. It introduced like strong
Hokages,
characters.
Maybe Tsunade.
Yeah, but the thing about the previous Hokage is, like up until Shippuden, up until the power ceiling had been broken time and time again. Like we knew they were a powerful ninja, but like we never really know what they're capable of. And the only Hokage that we actually meet is an old guy who has been told or has been established to be nowhere near as strong as he used to be. So we have no idea where the power ceiling is. We know people exist that could serve as a power ceiling, but we don't know what they're actually capable of. So Naruto just keeps blowing it out of the water time and time again. Other than that, well, I think the power ceiling is like more of a problem in sports anime actually than it is in battle shonen.
Yeah, because sports has to somewhat adhere to what we know the sport to be in our world, and
okay, then you only say that because you've never watched Prince of Tennis.
I mean, unless you want to go the Prince of Tennis route, or like Kuroko no Basket is the same thing as well, where eventually
it just gets
powers
ridiculous.
that it gets ridiculous, and it's hardly basketball at all. It's two men jumping at one another, one with a ball in their hand, and they're having a monologue for 15 minutes about some powers and whatever, determination, I think Haikyuu has done it much better. So,
Haikyuu doesn't really have much of a power ceiling, because Haikyuu does adhere to realistic standards, and they don't go outside of it either, all the way up until the very end.
It's ended, huh?
It has ended.
It's weird to have to know that it's ended.
Mob Psycho 100 introduced the power feeling in an interesting way, in that Mob himself is the power ceiling.
And then it broke it. It just didn't follow it.
I mean,
yeah, he can go.
With Mob, it's like we know from the very beginning that there's no character that is stronger than him, and that he just doesn't want to. So there's nothing there to break.
But his power,
he himself is the power ceiling.
Yeah, but his power is completely subject to whatever they want it to be. There isn't like a precedent for what the power would be.
Like a limit. There's no limit.
Yeah, it can be whatever they decide.
But they did the smart thing of introducing that very concept from the very beginning of like Mob can do whatever so long as he feels like it. So from the very beginning that
that's pretty.
There are no limits.
Yeah, and
so,
it makes sense.
That's also a smart way to handle it.
It makes sense for that to do it. Like they work in a way that it makes sense, and also they kind of make it so that it's not always a good thing when Mob does whatever he wants and let the power that he has just go out of control. Just because we as a viewer know that he wants to get in control of the power, so he doesn't want to actually reach a power ceiling, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference between Mob and other shonen is, despite the fact that there are definite shonen battles there, the main conflict isn't an external conflict, but is 100% internal.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas most shonen will have, like either entirely external conflicts, like most of the conflicts in One Piece, or, 50-50 external, internal, like a lot of the conflicts in Naruto.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree. But I think... do we have anything else to add about Shonen? Anything we want to scream off our chests about this topic?
I mean, there's a lot that I could say about Shonen in general.
Okay,
back to
I will,
Ichigo, back to Bleach.
I'll say what my biggest problem with Shonen is, and you can tell me if I'm like insane or if it's a problem or what. Okay, and this is the reason why I normally don't like it. So Shonen is for young people, and that's like the whole name. But it pretends that it's mature, and so there's like this dissonance where the show is like, it's like it gives this it's like window dressing that it's mature, so there'll be like blood or like boobs or whatever, and they'll be like, yeah, this is really, really mature stuff, really hard hitting stuff, and when you're somebody who doesn't like when you're old enough to know that is just not the case, it feels like you're just being lied to.
I feel like it does that because the people who watch it want.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like that.
I know that, because like if you're 13, you think you're like the most mature you'll ever be.
Yeah. When you're 13, you feel really cool watching something that pretends to be mature. But the moment you actually watch something mature, it's actually
like you think it is mature. Like you wholeheartedly believe that this is like the most 13, hard hitting concepts that will ever be written. But yeah. But when you're not 13, it feels really shitty.
I don't think that's entirely fair, because at least Battle Shonen wise, like, which Battle Shonen does that?
Well, the problem is I don't watch Battle Shonen, so it's quite hard for me to answer the question.
Are there any Battle Shonen that you've tried that had that problem? Like you've come.
That feels much more like like somehow. A harem problem.
How?
What do you mean? Is a harem problem? What do you mean?
I personally think that's more of a harem problem than a or even more so, it's more of an isekai problem.
The Venn diagram of shonen and harem is it's almost a circle. Like,
I mean, one that I can think of is like Fairy Tail, which peppers the whole series with fan service.
Yes, but Fairy Tail also very, very rarely, tries to really be mature. Fairy Tail knows.
The point. That's the point of fan service, is to try to be mature.
No, it's not. Like, literally, Hiro Mashima always says, in interviews, whenever that point is brought up, he's just like, I just think it's fun. There's the only arc that I can think of that really takes, goes into the dark and really tries to be mature is, not even Tartarus, is, much earlier on is Elsa's past. That's the only one where I can think of where, the fun completely disappears, but Fairy Tail is different from most shonen in that it never really tries to be mature. It tries to be mostly fun, It's just, and there's a big difference too in between, like, do you know what an elevator pitch is?
Yes.
You have to like explain why you need to pitch your show in like a few seconds, because it's like you're in an elevator.
Yes. Okay, so in one sentence, explain the plot of Naruto to me.
Kid wants to become Hokage.
Yes, in one sentence, explain One Piece to me.
Kid wants to become Pirate King.
In one sentence, explain Hunter x Hunter to me.
Kid wants to find his dad.
Okay, now in one sentence, explain Fairy Tail to me.
Guild blows up shit.
It sucks.
Exactly.
Is that like an explanation?
No. And that's exactly it, guild, or I mean, they call it guild. It's not really a real guild. Yeah, let's go with it and say guild. Like a cast of colorful people go on fun adventures. That's Fairy Tail in a nutshell. You see the difference here?
I mean, no. There is a different way. The kid wants to find his dad.
No, that's never the focus.
I don't think that's a very.
That's
I don't think this is a good test.
That's not what Fairy Tail is about. Like there is a character in there who wants to find his dad.
Okay, but
that's not what Fairy Tail is about.
You can also say that One Piece is about is about adventuring as much as Fairy Tail is.
But the difference is the focus of One Piece is on the character who wants to become Hokage.
Yes, and
the focus is the focus of Fairy Tail was never, ever, ever on finding Igneel.
Yes, and I think that's a problem actually, because it makes the main character Natsu so unfocused. He never does a lot to find his dragon dad. But
because that's not his priority.
He's been introduced as having that goal from the very start.
Yes, but actually no. So here's like the point here is, and I'm trying very hard not to say here's the thing.
You already did.
I know I did. You are correct. That's how he was introduced, and Fairy Tail came out at a time, again when One Piece and Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Naruto were so big, and you have characters whose motivation for doing whatever they do was very, very clear. It was always working towards that goal, right?
Right.
That's what drove those characters. And then in between that you have Fairy Tail with, a possible main character who, was introduced to the other main character because, main character wanted to find his dad. And so you go into that entire show expecting that that's going to be the focus, and then it's not, and then you feel cheated. But really, even from the very beginning, outside of the first episode, or even just, the first part of the first episode, that was never the focus of anything Natsu did, That's the reason why why Lucy and Natsu met, because Natsu heard that, there would be a salamander who, he only knows as his dad, in that town. But, once he realizes that, oh, never mind, that was a dud, that motivation is like, well, never mind then, I guess I'm just going back to my everyday life. And that's, very consistent throughout the entire show. Whenever Natsu hears something about his dad, he'll be like, okay, I'll go check that out real quick. But its priority from beginning to end is always with the guild.
Right, but isn't it pretty bad to have a main character that doesn't really have a driving motivation?
Usually, yes. In a story, in most shonen stories, that would be the case, right? But then you have a slice of life show where that is usually not the case. And Fairy Tail is kind of a little bit like that,
Honestly,
it's
good slice of life.
That's what I say.
True. True.
The difference between a bad slice of life and a good slice of life is that there is an end goal to be achieved, even if it will take an infinite amount of sitting at a table drinking tea to do it.
I mean, what is the end goal in Lucky Star?
What is it? Wait, let me think.
The argument destroyed in 2 seconds. Either he has to accept that Lucky Star is a bad slice of life, or he has to rescind his previous argument.
Okay, the exception doesn't make the rule.
I mean, for the hero's journey, for a show that is about the hero's journey, where the focus is the hero's journey, that is an absolute necessity. You are correct. But Fairy Tail is not that show. And neither is Lucky Star, saying that the main character having a motivation is bad writing is just plain out wrong, I would advise everyone who starts with writing to start like that, and to, write stories around that.
It's easier.
Just because, and because that way you get a hang of story structure and good story structure. But Natsu's motivation is very consistent throughout the entire show. It's just that, instead of working towards a goal that he has yet to achieve, he works towards a goal that is consistent, which is protecting his family.
Right.
And in that way, he is exactly as the same as Ichigo, and that was a big criticism that people had of Ichigo too. The fact that he never really had a goal, and his main goal was always, just protecting his family. But that's not really much of a criticism, I find, or I think. Like, that's my opinion of it.
You see what she did there, Paul?
Fairy Tail
she brought it back to Ichigo.
Fairy Tail in nature. Yeah, see, I'm good like that.
I had to call
Fairy Tail, in the way it's constructed, is a very different show from most shonen. And if you judge it as, like all of the other shonens, then yeah, it's going to come off as really, really bad. And there are things of it that are just really, really, really bad. But Natsu not having a motivation or not having a goal that he has to constantly work for is not one of them.
I see. I understand. I can see where you're coming from. I mean,
But there are still a lot of things in it that are really, really bad.
I personally don't like fairy tale much, but that's maybe also a topic for another time. Speaking of topics, I think we've come to the end of our one. Don't think we have much to say about Ichigo or Shonen for the time being, unless we want to go on for another 2 hours. But I'd rather not.
Well, there is a lot to say about Bleach in general still, but I would have to mull that over in my head for like another month or so before I can really form my opinions on it, because Bleach is layered, let's put it that way. And it's not as easily to pick apart as, most other shonen is.
Maybe Super Eye Patch Wolf will make another Bleach video on it. And you get to have new opinions.
Maybe.
Next week, no, not next week.
Well, you're saying this, but
Next
episode,
time.
yes.
Yeah.
Next episode. I want to already say what we're gonna be discussing, because I think I've pretty much figured out what we want to do. We want to talk about anime cannibalism. It's we want to push that term that we've created, or I've created.
I still don't think I understand what it means.
Well, we'll explain it to you then.
Yep.
That we've created as and we will push it into the world, and we will have it popularized because of our podcast with our 5 viewers.
Hey, that's 5 more that That means there's 8 whole. That means there's 8 people with that in their lexicon. That's pretty good.
We appreciate you very much. Also, by the time this episode comes out, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, technically,
Yeah, we're not going
it'll
to...
probably be
like February, yeah.
before-
Happy February.
Because we're not
Happy Valentine's
uploading
Day.
anything for the rest of the
All
year.
you lonely fucks.
Yeah, we're not uploading anything for the rest of the year. So we have recorded this the day before Christmas Eve, but we will not be uploading anything until the New Year's.
There's not going to be a Christmas special. What
Maybe
would a
next year.
Christmas
We'll see.
special? What would Christmas special even look like? Do we just go through all the Christmas episodes we know of, and rank?
I think that we
and
would
ra-
have to
and
go
rank-
deep into
and
the
rank
shoujo
them?
for that. We would have to go deep into the shoujo genre for that one.
Yeah, Is the Audio a Rabbit Christmas special is really bad. It's really, really bad.
Yeah, I think the Oromo one is the best one.
Oh, because they fucking it. What happens?
No, I think she confesses to the guy at a Christmas tree. I guess it's not technically.
Oh, the
a Christmas
Toradora
episode,
one. That's good. That's some good shit. The
That
Toradora
is
Christmas
some
episode?
good
That's some
shit.
good
I
shit.
agree.
Oh
Oh my god,
God, I
Pory
need
and
to
I actually
rewatch
agree
that.
on something in the podcast.
That's impossible. You can't do that. We can't
Yeah.
have arguments.
You know what?
discussions
You know
when
what?
two
Sheila?
agree.
The Toradora episode actually sucks. There we go.
How
Wow.
dare you? Blasphemy.
I need them to disagree, or we don't have a podcast.
Yeah, there's no content.
What he said.
Anyway, that's the end of this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming by. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.